Hello, I'm David Ellenstein, Artistic Director at North Coast Repertory Theater. Thank you for joining us today for Theater Conversations. If you enjoy watching these, please click like, subscribe, and share. It's free to do, and it helps us get more visibility for these videos. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Theater Conversations. It's my pleasure today to be joined by my friend, the wonderful director, actor, theater organizer, Seema Sueko. Hello, Seema.
Hello, David. It's so great to see you. Long time.
Tell us first your background. What am I seeing behind you?
Yes, I'm here in Honolulu, Hawaii. I came here on January 2nd to help my parents out. My dad is experiencing some medical issues. And so this is the lanai of the home that I grew up on and the land from which I come.
That's fantastic. So just to get everybody caught up a little bit and remind them who you are and your illustrious experience, Seema was in San Diego for quite a while and started the Olelo Performing Arts Organization and produced a lot of great theater for quite a number of years here in San Diego, and was a big part of changing the landscape of San Diego theater-wise and really bringing us to a national prominence with the diversity and large number of different kinds of theater companies that were happening here. And Seemas was really unique, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But what year was it that you left to go to Pasadena Playhouse as the Associate Artistic Director?
Well, first I had a grant to go to Arena Stage through the TCG Leadership U grant, and that was in 2013 that I spent about 11 months at Arena Stage. And then in 2014, went to Pasadena Playhouse.
And you were there for a couple of years.
Yeah, 2.5 years, and then returned to Arena Stage in Washington, D.C. as Deputy Artistic Director in 2016.
So you were the Deputy Artistic, did you have a badge?
A badge and also a little pink water pistol that, I just went around the building.
Bad acting.
Right. That's good leadership right there, right?
Stop that. Don't do that anymore.
Right.
So I was lucky enough, when Seema first came to San Diego was right around the time that I first came to San Diego.
I remember
and Seema auditioned for me very early on when I was here, and I was lucky enough to get to work with her at least once. Mm-hmm. We did a production of Rashomon. Seema was awesome in it. Played that in that story that you get to experience the story 3 different times, through 3 different perspectives, and that was pretty fun to do. But we became friends and have stayed in contact ever since. So talk a little bit about how you got into doing theater and how your approach and passion for theater has changed and evolved over the course of the last, we'll say the last 20 years, because
sure.
I mean, I met you about 18 years ago, I think, 17 or 18 years ago. I know it's hard to believe, isn't it? You are only 18, aren't you?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up having these 2 passions of politics and theater, and my undergraduate study is in political science. My graduate degree is also in international relations with a focus on Middle East politics. And I did that graduate work at University of Chicago. But when I was in grad school, when you're in grad school, you can't do anything else. Whereas in undergrad, I could do theater and music. And it was at that point where I thought, oh, you know what? I feel like I can affect change in a more robust way through performance rather than through academia. So I finished my master's program and just started acting around Chicago, which, is a great town, a great theater town. I had the good fortune of working with some fantastic directors and fellow actors, many of whom you may never know because you can really stay in Chicago and make quite a living as an actor there. But life propelled me, and I landed in San Diego in 2004 and started auditioning around town and would hear, I'd hire you if you weren't equity, which of course is the theater union. And I could also see that there wasn't enough work for actors of color in the San Diego theater market at that time. And so I thought, well, I have two choices. I could either sit around and complain. I'm pretty good at that, but ultimately that only makes me feel bad, you know. Or I could try to create a company to do what I wanted there to be there, you know. So that led to the birth of Olelo Performing Arts Company in San Diego. And we said we were a community-focused, socially conscious equity theater company. We produced plays that allowed for significant roles for actors of color, plays that allowed us to engage communities that didn't traditionally attend the theater. And thus we created a methodology called consensus organizing to be able to engage with new communities. The plays we did also allowed us to engage with high schools and middle schools. And San Diego was a great place to make this theater company. I have so many fond memories of my time there. Other great companies like North Coast Rep that I was able to work at as well. So
And the
I
Old
did,
Globe, you
and the Old
ended up
Globe.
working at the Old Globe, right?
Yeah, I both as an actor and as a director. In 2004, acted in a play called The Intelligent Design of Jenny Chow, and then in 2009 returned to direct a play called Since Africa. So yeah, San Diego holds a warm place in my heart.
Well, we miss you.
Oh, well, the feeling is mutual. The feeling is mutual. Sorry for all the wind here, but you asked about my
How your
perspective.
approach changed and your passion maybe altered or found a different path or has
Yeah,
changed.
I actually think in some ways it's really come full circle
Okay.
that these two impulses, politics and theater, which is about, you know, being so connected to the world and then so connected to artistry, I think they've always been there in my core. I so believe that theater, the art form, is transformative and can contribute to building healthy and successful communities. I think that's some of what we try to do with Mo'olelo. And so I actually very recently in this pandemic made another step in my journey and embarked on a new initiative. I sunset my position as Deputy Artistic Director at Arena Stage in December, and am now really focused on a couple of things. One is how to utilize theater to solve problems. And I'm also very interested in surfacing new employers for artists. You know, even before the pandemic, there weren't enough jobs for the number of actors and directors and designers that some go to training and some don't. But regardless, there was never enough jobs. Certainly, the pandemic has reduced that, and it won't change coming out of the pandemic. But I had an opportunity to direct a film for a think tank, the Atlantic Council, this past October. And I so enjoyed working with this think tank, and they paid for it. They paid the director's fee, they hired the actors, and it was in partnership with Arena Stage. But it made me recognize that, oh, maybe there are other sectors, other industries that for whom theater can help them achieve their goals and their work. So that's led me into this. How do we utilize the theater to solve a multitude of problems? And then also, how can that also help us surface new employers and diversify and widen the employer base for artists to do what they do?
Wow. You know, you make me feel like a simple artist because I don't think in those terms. You know,
Well,
we're
there's
about,
nothing simple about being an artist. I
well, no,
will
no, I
say,
don't mean
yeah.
it that way, but your scope sounds bigger than I think sometimes because I'm always looking for the next great play that we can do well, you know, and
Mhm.
that's kind of my frame, and you're kind of thinking of it in a much different way than that, and that's, I mean, I think that's great.
Oh, thanks. But you know, I do think that this skill, right? This what you do, what directors do, what artistic directors do, in terms of trying to think about the next play that you can do well. Embedded in that are all these assumptions and connections you're making about who your audience is. So that's your
Mhm.
community,
Mhm.
who your community of artists are, what
Right.
opportunities you can give there, and the interconnectedness between the artists and the audience. And so it's actually all there.
Right.
And I think it's out of the inspiration of seeing what artists do, and recognizing that I think the impact of that, or I hope the impact of that, it's so important that we have these organizations like yours making an impact in your local community. And how can we broaden that impact into other sectors and other communities? I guess it's just really all that
Right.
I'm thinking about.
Because it is all about ultimately making the world better, right? I mean,
It
that's
is.
what we're after. That's what the arts are always after anyway, as far as I'm concerned. Broadening it
Yeah.
and making it better and making people understand we're in it together more.
How do we
So,
experience joy? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no. Do you miss performing?
Every day is a performance. No, I guess, when I started directing, I find that I have so much that I continue to learn along that journey of directing and producing and creating. And I love working with actors, and so I feel very fulfilled. Just yesterday, I'm directing a musical, a podcast musical, and we did a recording session uh, uh, of a prototype, or recorded a scene that goes into a song to test how we'll make this happen. And the artists are all over the globe. Our playwright composer is in Thailand. Some of the orchestral musicians are in Thailand.
Wow.
I'm here in Hawaii. One of our actors is in LA, another's in New York. The sound designer's in Chicago.
Talk
The
about a
music director's
scheduling
in
nightmare.
Michigan. Yes,
Talk about a
yes.
schedule. How do you get on the same? So some people are in the middle of the night when other people are in the morning.
Yes. Well, Thailand is, I think, what is it? 15 hours? No, 10 hours ahead of the East Coast, 15 hours ahead of me. Yeah, we made it work, but that was so fulfilling. And even working with actors through the Zoom screen, and diving into text and music with them, I found still very, very fulfilling the creative process.
So what do you see yourself doing for the next 5 years? How do you see it progressing and you're being able to pursue what you're talking about?
Yesterday, Anne Bogart spoke at an artistic director intensive, which is a program I run for Arena Stage, where I continue to consult for them. And Anne said, every good question, the answer to that is exactly. Because you asked a very good question to which I do not have an answer, but exactly that is the question that is in process.
Right.
I guess it's about very much living, being present, keeping my eyes, ears, and heart open. Uh, there are things I hope for. Early in the pandemic, with Arena Stage, I created a theater artist marketplace. The idea was I saw that artists still exist, still imaginative, still creative. They were just out of work. And audience still exists, hungry for the arts. And the only thing that was broken was the delivery system. So once I really named it that way, I thought, well, let's create new delivery systems. So the Theater Artist Marketplace is an online portal through which anyone in the public can purchase or commission a work of art from one of the artists who've graced our stages at Arena, artists and artisans. We went live with it in June. We've sold over 200 items. There's 35 artists currently on the marketplace. And I feel we've achieved proof of concept. And so one of the things I'm continuing to do for Arena Stage is work on the marketplace and examine how can we improve it. Um, I'm hoping we can find the resources to be able to market the marketplace, because right now it has really only been marketed through word of mouth and some social media, and also some resources to be able to improve the infrastructure. The marketplace is built on top of existing Tessitura ticketing software, which is not made to work as a marketplace, and the genius IS people at Arena Stage and the communications department found a way to make that work. But I'm hoping we can get some resources to make it a more elegant system that will be user-friendly to both the artists and the audience, and then we can also maximize and grow it. And I'd love for it to go national and to not just be arena artists, but all artists, theater artists. I had been thinking, this was while I was still working at Arena, and as I was having to call artists to let them know their shows would be postponed,
Yeah.
I thought, what would I do if I was in their shoes? If I had to hang out my shingle, what would I have to offer people? And I started thinking, if I were to hire you, for example, to be the resident artist of my family, what would you do? And so I started thinking, how could we create a space that artists can be able to offer all the glorious things they can offer to folks without that delivery system, which is what they had typically depended on. We do a show, you come and see it, that delivery system. So I also have a vision. I'm hoping that, I don't quite know how I'll do this. So, and it's probably a collective to do this, is what would it be to actually embed artists in residence throughout our communities? Early in the pandemic, I heard about a writer who is in residence at a hospital, and she'd actually been there before the pandemic. But what she did was not service the patients, but service the staff. So the physicians, the nurses, the front office staff, she created writing groups for them. They would write, she'd critique their writing. It was a creative space that also became a space for wellness for them as individuals, so they could do their jobs better. So I started thinking, what would it be if we could embed theater artists in hospitals, in grocery stores, any place where people are frontline working? And these could be virtual embedding, but that to demonstrate that theater can help solve problems and to offer something to the world.
So let me bag that for you, ma'am. Hello. Nice to see you.
That's one option. No, I thought that it could be helping the workers,
No, I hear you. I hear you. No, I was just being silly.
I know, I appreciate it.
But that's where I go. So when you think back on San Diego and your time here, what are a couple of the highlights? Just like 2 or 3 things that pop in your mind. You go, that was really great.
What I found in San Diego was that I was able to connect with so many different communities in San Diego. And I wonder, like, how did that happen? I remember one of my first entry points, there was an organization called Activist San Diego. I don't know if they still exist, but I had just landed in San Diego. I had written a play that dealt with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I wanted to workshop it. I needed to find folks who are engaged in that conversation. And I think through Activist San Diego, through Israeli-Palestinian dialogue groups, which there were plentiful in San Diego, groups like Voices of Women that Jenny Prisk founded. I think there was an Institute for Peace and Justice. I found there was such a robust landscape of individuals and communities working in a diversity of ways. I just got a battery low notice. Can we hold for a sec while I try to plug in my my computer to make sure we're all okay here?
Yes.
Okay, just one sec. Great. Yeah. So anyway, I think the actually the robust diversity of the San Diego landscape and how openly and willingly they came to support the theater at Mo'olelo. I'm very grateful for that. Also, a number of individuals who early on came on board to support this fledgling little theater company. I guess maybe what I'm getting at is there's something in the spirit of San Diego that was so welcoming and supportive and willing to say, yep, we'll help you with that. that's what's in my heart.
An open-mindedness.
Yeah.
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 And willingness to jump in.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a show or two that jumps out at you that you did back in those days that really rang true for you and what you want theater to be?
There's so many.
Yeah, I know. It's always hard to pick favorites.
Right. Well, I guess as a performer, doing the intelligent design of Jenny Chow at the Old Globe was transformational as an actor. I grew so much. You know, you give an actor an opportunity to do a tour de force role like that, they have to rise to it. The
Right.
director, Kirsten Brandt, was great in both pushing me and also gently giving me confidence, you know. And I feel like I grew as an artist by doing that show.
Yeah.
Um, gosh,
How about
uh-huh.
yeah, how about
Yeah,
as a
go ahead.
director? So you directed quite a few shows at Pasadena, and you've directed quite a few shows at Arena.
Uh-huh.
Is there one or two of them that are like in your heart that just rise to the top?
You know, I guess there's two maybe that kind of percolate up right away.
Yeah.
One is at Mo'olelo, I directed a production of Yellowface by David Henry Wong.
Yes.
And David came out to San Diego early on. You know, I reached out to him and, you know, asked if I could direct the play and shared with him a vision I had for it that was slightly different than what was written on the page. And needed to ask his permission to go that route. And he said, go for it. And then, you know, I reached back out and I said, we'd love to be able to get you out here to speak with our audience. And he so graciously did that. You know, I mean, we put him up in a hotel. He's probably used to staying in far fancier places than we could afford. And he was just really generous. And when he saw the show, he said, Seema, you found jokes in the script that I didn't even know existed. And to which I credit the actors I was working with. You know, Greg Watanabe is a comic genius. And I would say he always knew how to do not just the laugh, but the double laugh. A joke just happened, timing. He said something else, the double laugh, you know. It was brilliant. So I really enjoyed that. And then at Arena, I had an opportunity to direct The Heiress in the Fitchandler space, which is the theater in the round, the jewel of the Arena, the 3 Arena stage theaters. And this was my first show in the Fitchandler. And prior to that, I'd really worked mostly in the world of contemporary theater. And so diving into a classic was about diversifying my artistry and my repertory. And boy, did I love working on that project. The script is so delicious.
Yep.
And it was wonderful to see how it just worked. Like, it's a melodrama.
Yeah.
And this contemporary audience of 2019, young and old, of all different ethnicities, somehow naturally slotted right into booing and hissing as an audience of a melodrama does, you know. And I remember sitting there at the first preview going, wow, they are into it, you know. And that was so pleasing. And of course, any successful project, you know, is dependent on all your collaborators. I just had a dream team of designers and actors, technicians, artisans. The Arena Stage costume shop is unparalleled in the gowns that they made for that. So I was quite spoiled.
Well, Seema, it's so great to talk to you. You know, we usually in the past have run into each other once a year or once every 2 years, but now it's been a while, and
Yeah.
especially with the pandemic, there was no chance. I hope our paths cross again soon. It's great to catch up with you a little bit this way and let the North Coast Rep audience know where you've been and all the great things you've been doing. And I'm going to look forward to something happening so we do something again together in the future.
I would love that. All the best to you, David. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thanks so much for doing this today. Bye-bye.
Bye.